I'm going to talk to you about the BIMS because it's the only scale I ever developed. So it's the only one I'm really familiar with. These same kind of uses and procedures and so forth should be available in whatever behavioral skill. Three Musketeers of the BIMS. It's me. Achilles Bardos is a test developer. He's a Jack Neglieri protege. He is the current publisher because our publisher did not do a very good job of the programming, and long story short, in a decade, big long divorce, Achilles took it over and got it reprogrammed. He's our publisher. Scott Myers, the brains behind the operation. He's our Edison, and he taught us how to kind of construct this scales. So what I always wanted is a way to screen kids quickly, reliably for different tiers of intervention and to identify areas of concern for a tier 1 intervention. Progress monitoring folks, decide whether or not they're getting better. Program evaluation, I want to demonstrate whatever I'm doing works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to change it so it does work. That's kind of what we developed the scale for. We also thought that we should have multiple informants available, parents, teachers, self. There's a clinician form as well, which is really close to the teacher form. So we can get information from different sources about how the kid's doing. So the BIMS looks at conduct, negative affect, and cognitive attention, which are, externalizing, internalizing, and attention problems. The three biggest concern areas that develop in school-age kids. We also look at social functioning and academic functioning because these strengths if we increase these strengths, they should decrease the concerns that we have with kids. But I don't trust just increasing strengths and hoping that it decreases concerns. I want to measure them both directly. So the BIMS uses T-scales or T-scores, which most folks are fairly familiar with, right? Every 10 is a new risk level. And we've got the color coding with green, yellow, and red. I think scales that are doing this work should have some kind of normative sample. So we use about, just under 4,000 or 5,000 kids, about 2,000 for parent teacher, and self-report somewhat less. We also have a significant clinical sample. That's really important because I want to study and validate that this measure for screening identifies kids with problems when they have them, and also identifies kids as being fine when they're fine. And so these are different clinical groups that we used for each of the rating forms. I also think it should be studied with different races and ethnicities because I worked in a diverse setting. The last thing I wanted to do was to implement an assessment that was biased in terms of race, culture, and so forth.